Well, Tiger King fans, there may be new news in the disappearance of Carole Baskin's second husband. Tomorrow, the family of Don Lewis is set to make announcements in his cold case. The nearly 24-year-old cold case resurfaced after the third episode of the docuseries looked into Lewis's disappearance. One of the show's characters, Joe Exotic, alleges Baskin killed Lewis and fed him to her tiger. Baskins has denied all allegations that she had anything to do with her then-husband's disappearance or death, calling the show sensational. A celebration of life for Lewis is set for August 15th at 1:30 p.m.